In my business analysis career, I've been asked multiple times by senior management to either lead smaller projects or to fill in for a project manager when they've been away. So I've been the one that they've asked to come in and do the status reporting, et cetera. And the reason why I mentioned that is for business analysts, that it's important for business analysts really to pick up some project management skills along the way, because it gives you the flexibility to fill in those types of gaps when you need to. And to help us understand the project management profession, we have a 20-year veteran of the profession, Adriana Girdler, who is going to help us understand what project management really is and where business analysts can really start to get their footing. So thank you for joining us, Adriana.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me.
You're very welcome. I'm glad to have you on. I love speaking to experts who know their stuff, and I'm really looking forward to asking you a lot of the questions and getting your thoughts on where business analysts can really go to kind of understand project management a little bit better. Before we do that, I'm going to be leaving all of Adriana's contact information in the description below. Her YouTube channel is the place that you want to be visiting. I've watched a lot of her videos. They are a great place to learn about project management. So all of that will be in the description. All of those formalities out of the way. Let's just dive right in, Adriana.
Absolutely. Let's
Can
do it,
you?
Emo.
So I'm going to ask, as a business analyst, obviously I've done a little bit of project management here, but it's not a profession that I've dove into feet first. But a lot of business analysts that we see inside of our community are really interested in kind of using business analysis as kind of a stepping stone into project management, because that's really the goal that they're trying to get into. We have a lot of other analysts who really want to remain as analysts, but it's important for them to pick up skills. Can you really
Yes.
help us understand what a good starting place would be for a business analyst to start learning some project management skills?
Yes. I mean, so it's interesting because I get asked this question all the time. How do I get into project management? How do I get into project management? And yes, you know what? There are university programs have adjunct project management courses associated with whatever degree that they are, doing.
Mhm.
There's online courses that you yourself can take. I myself have an online course that people can take. So absolutely. So, I think having some sort of education to teach you some fundamentals is really important. The
Right.
key is practicality. And I tell people this all the time. You need to get involved in projects. That is how you're going to learn true project management, because theory is one thing, practicality and reality are
Yes.
two different worlds, and you just have to be involved. So start asking to get on projects. Every organization has projects. So just start asking to be a team member on them, and ultimately ask to start leading some smaller initiatives. Now, when you start leading or even being a team member, definitely go out there and get some information through some online courses. There's some really great ones out there.
That's some of the best advice I've heard in a long time, because and I've actually given that advice to some folks in the business analysis
Yes.
space as well, because we say, look, there is no substitute for real world experience. You need to make sure that you have some training to give you the structure and
Yes.
understanding some of the foundations, but there is absolutely no substitute for real world on the job training for a business analyst. Now, so make sure that as a if you're a BA who's looking to get into that's an area those are the two areas that you're looking at. The question I wanted to really ask is that in terms of actual project management skills, is there a good starting place about the specific skills that business analysts should start focusing on if they're trying to get in?
Definitely. I have my PMP, so that's a project management professional designation, and that is through PMI.org.
Yeah.
So the reason why I even bring that up is because there are thought processes to project management. And PMI structure or framework is a 5-stage framework where you have initiation stage, planning stage, execution, monitor control, and closeout. That's the fundamentals of project management. It doesn't matter what other methodology you use, whether it's an agile methodology, whether it's a waterfall methodology, even other types of project management designations that are out there. That's the framework that they use. They sometimes call it a little bit different. So you need to understand the framework. And understand that there is a process to it. So the big thing that people get misconstrued all the time with project management is they think a software is project management. Oh, I have my project, I have Microsoft Project, which is a Gantt chart. I'm going to have that and I can manage my project. Oh my gosh, no, that's a tool.
Yeah.
It's a tool, a good tool. Everyone has preferences, whether they like it or not, but it's a tool. How you project manage is completely different. And that's why you need that framework of what are the stages and what do I have to do? Because project management is not just about here's my deliverable. I have my scope statement. I now know what I need to deliver on. I have a timeline. There's a lot of strategy. There's a lot of people interaction. There's a lot of politicking you have to do in the dance of ensuring that everyone's on that same page. A lot of change management happens within it. So it's amazing. I love what I do. You really need to understand how projects run and the frameworks around it.
Yeah, so really just kind of understand the landscape of what the profession of project management really is, which is really kind of baked into that 5-step framework, I guess, right?
Yeah, and it's about people, and I think people forget that when they get into project management. It is about because remember this, as a project manager, my team does not report into me. I am not their direct manager. There is no repercussions if they do not follow what I say, except for the project does not end on time and I have issues, right? So guess what? You need to then become excellent with people skills. And how do you get people excited about wanting to be on your project and making your project tasks priority for them? So now there's a little bit of this game, sales, like all that fun stuff where, you're there to do a macro view of stuff. You're there to remove the roadblocks for your team and make sure that they're successful, but also to have fun and get them through the process. So anything you can do to prepare them and give them a package and so they know what's going to happen. And that's why there's a lot of preparatory work I do prior to even kicking off my project. So I may get, Adriana, you're getting this project, but I may not kick it off for a month because I'm doing all this prep work, getting it ready so I can make my team successful.
Understood. So understand the basic framework, make sure you're very good with people because, as you mentioned, Adriana, it seems to me that as a project manager, you don't have any real direct authority, right? The folks that are on your team are not your employees, so you can't really demand that they do certain things, which is such a huge part of what makes project management a little bit difficult for folks who are really just used to, kind of being managers or having that mentality where, when you assign a task to somebody that they should do it. So what I'm hearing from what you're saying here is that you don't have any direct authority as a project manager, but from my experience and what I've seen, you are held accountable by your leadership to make sure you're delivering on time. And that puts you in a very tough position, right? So and the skills that you need to actually make that happen are not easy skills to pick up. And I think that this kind of goes back to your comment around experience, right? How are you going to learn that inside of a classroom environment?
You will not.
You will
Zero,
not. Absolutely.
zero.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting. And that's why I say understanding the framework of project management is really important because what you do in your initiation stage is critical as it sets you up for success. So I really connect with executives. I actually get my steering committee. I will demand a steering committee.
Right.
And there's certain things I will put my foot down on very respectfully, very professionally, because I know if I don't do it, and I hope I'm screwed. Like really down the road, I'm like, I am not going to do well and I have no recourse. So, when you establish, your project priority matrix, right? Like what's your constraints, what are you going to optimize, things of that nature with time, scope, and budget, you get that buy-in with executive right away. You use it as a tool. Like these are all the things that, a task chart or like a Gantt chart, which is just going to monitor it, doesn't teach you. And this is why you need that framework. That's why there's this negotiation. But when you become an awesome project manager, you can go into any role because you now learn strategy, politicking, how to really move things forward and align, because our ultimate goal is to align everything to corporate objectives. Right.
Yeah. And you know what? I think there's something that you just said that really jumped out at me, because really just making sure that you understand the relationship between what it is that the team that you're working with and the senior management that is really has a lot of expectations out of you, right? oftentimes I think a lot of people see project management really as a top-down kind of situation where the project manager is just supposed to do whatever management asks them for. I think a lot of people don't realize that it
Yeah.
is really your job to make sure that you understand that there are certain expectations that all of your stakeholders must fulfill, right? Including senior
Yes.
management, steering committee, whoever else it is. Is that
Yes.
something that you would, I guess I would say, is that, can you give us some insights into your experiences in dealing with those types of situations?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, absolutely. And this is
Yeah,
why I think over the years I
yeah,
made my mistakes, right? Like I've
right.
stumbled, I fell, believe you me. But the reason why after so many years of doing it, you hopefully learn from everything, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, the biggest thing with executives, and this is why you have to learn how to do project management, is you have to get buy-in in the beginning. Why? Because
Hmm.
everyone is happy, you have no issues, everyone is totally good to agree to things. And so that's
Hmm.
why you strike while the iron is hot. That's why I
Right.
don't do my project kickoff with my team until I do my first steering committee with a preliminary to get all my executives together, get my
Got it.
sponsor bought in. I actually go, here's what we're going to do. I'll like to actually even create the charter because they never give you that.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
will have them approve it, but then I'll put the rules in place and saying, look, this is what we agree to. I'm going to deliver on this, but this is what I need from you. So I actually put in rules and responsibility. And guess who's in my rules and responsibility? My steering committee. I have
Hmm.
rules for them because everyone
Perfect.
else is following it. They need
Yeah,
to as well. And when you present it in that way, in a very, respectful, non-confrontational, but it's really like, here's the project, here's the plan, here's everybody's roles and responsibility. By the way, you have some too. And my little magic trick is I love, and I have people sign off on the charter literally with their signature.
yeah, yeah. That's
Literally
right.
get to sign off on it. And
That's right.
a
It
lot of
has a
people,
different impact, I guess, eh?
everyone, it's interesting because some people feel uncomfortable asking for that, and I get it,
Right.
because the first time I asked, I was like, oh my goodness, are they going to do it? All I can say is this: asking for a signature is gold, because
Hmm.
people who are going to do well have no problem. They'll sign off. Yeah, not a problem, Adriana. I get it. I agree to everything here. Those
That's
who
right.
have a hard time signing are the ones who are usually going to give me a hard time in the project. So now, even before I start, I already know who I have to spend some special time with to remove some roadblocks for them. So it's really powerful stuff that,
Hmm.
again, experience, things of that nature, will help.
Yeah, and so this is exactly why I love talking to practitioners, right? Because a lot of this type of knowledge is so difficult to really get from just getting a certification. Earlier, we talked about the PMP, and the PMP will teach you the methodology.
Yep.
But what the PMP won't do is it won't fill in a lot of these gaps of the real world situations that you're going to experience and how you're going to deal with those things, right? And so
Yeah.
I really, really, I'm really glad that you joined us here, because this is very, very valuable information. Now, I'm going to change directions a little bit. Earlier, we talked a little bit about the PMP. The question I have around that is that the PMP doesn't necessarily, as I understand it, doesn't necessarily focus on software projects alone. That's correct, right?
Yeah, it's about, okay, I'll be honest, and I'm a master belt Lean Six Sigma person, so I'm all about process too and efficiency. I say a process is a process is a process. I'll be honest, a project is a project is a project. It
Okay.
doesn't matter what project that you're doing. The framework of project management that I just showed you through PMI is used with IT, because I've done IT software projects too, and I use
Right.
the framework. But because I'm also a master black belt, I have Lean Six Sigma behind me. Don't forget, Agile methodology was born out of Lean,
Right.
right? So,
Right.
so what I always say to people, and what Agile never says, in fact, Agile is very clear. Agile wants you to have high level timelines. Agile wants you to have a high level idea of planning. What
That's right.
Agile is giving you is they're saying,
Yeah.
look, you don't have to have a waterfall methodology of completing this first to go to the next step.
That's
Let's
right.
understand the timeline. Let's get all of our requirements. And now let's bucket and just get these requirements done and do it in an Agile method format, whether that's a Scrum or whatever methodology you want to use. And then you do your renditions and you do a lot more quality checks so that you're not waiting to the end.
That's right.
The
That's right.
biggest beef I have, and you probably, I'm just passionate about this subject, is I come across a lot of IT people who are like, I don't need a project plan. I'm like, no, you need a high level timeline and a high level milestone, because you still need to deliver to an end date. Yeah,
That's
you can
right.
still have all your iterations. I'm not asking you to change that. You can use that methodology. And when you're
Yeah.
done, move on. But you still have to have in your mind's eye what that end date is. And I need you to stick to it.
I'm
So
so
it's
glad that you
in,
said that.
oh yeah, it's my, so yes, I challenge my IT, but I support them too. I'm like, guys, I'm
That's
here
right.
to help you because I promise you upper management doesn't get it. They don't understand Agile. They don't. They don't. So
Hey,
I am your buffer and I'm helping you, but you need to do this too. So it's very interesting. Yeah.
thank goodness, because hey, look, you and I have to work on a project together sometime because these are the
Yes.
battles that I'm fighting on a regular basis. Because oftentimes the project manager I'm working with doesn't understand this concept, right? And they try to
Yes.
implement Agile in a way where it leaves so many gaps. And we recently produced a video in our community that talked about what happens when you try to replace the project manager with a scrum master, the
You
massive
don't.
accountability gap. And I think, see, that's why I love talking to practitioners, because this is the type of conversation that doesn't happen, right? If
I
you
know.
understand project management properly and you understand Agile properly, then you can figure out what aspects of Agile to implement inside your project. So
Absolutely. And I think what people forget too is agile, like lean methodology, is a
mhm,
paradigm shift and mindset in organizations. You have to switch up the hierarchy of the organization, how people work, the whole 9 yards. So to truly implement agile methodology in the purest form that it's meant to do and how it can really be 100% successful,
right.
very minimal organizations know how to do it. So now you're working in a very traditional mindset framework organization trying to jam pack this agile methodology. So it's a losing battle. So what I like to do is
Uh-huh.
you know what, mix it up, do a little bit of waterfall, do a little bit of agile, do a little bit. So, because you're going to have to do that because you have to fit it into the organization you're in. You can't change the organization for one project. The organization has to change in order for all projects to fit into that methodology. And people don't know
Yeah,
that, but that's through experience and
that's right.
failures all the time that
That's
organizations are
true.
having, which is why people go, it's a flavor of the month. It doesn't work. Well, no, it works. You just don't
That's
have the
right.
right framework.
That's right. And you're not applying it properly, right? And
Absolutely.
if that's not an endorsement for the hybrid agile methodology where you pick and choose the aspects of agile to implement in the
Yes.
environment that you're in, if you're not doing that and you're letting really, I mean, the way I look at it is that the marketing around agile is so strong, and the salespeople in the agile industry are so good at getting to the executives and selling the initiative. When
Yeah.
they try to implement it in the real world, in your world, in my world, we are the ones that have to deal with the impacts of trying to go agile. So we can talk about this until the cows come
It'd be
home.
a
And I
totally
know,
another
yeah,
topic.
that's absolutely right. Let me ask you a question really around a little bit more around the certification landscape. So if a business analyst is looking to really kind of beef up their project management skills in terms of certifications, what would be your recommendation for the certification that they should try to focus on?
Okay. I just want to take a few steps back. I
Sure.
know some awesome project managers who do not have certification. And I know
Okay.
some really terrible project managers who have certification. So
Mhm.
your certification is not going to deem whether you're good or not. What your certification is going to do is it's going to provide you more money because if you go on to a new job, it's going to give you more opportunity. It's going to give you clout. Like for myself, who's an influencer and who has a YouTube channel, I know what I'm talking about. I got my PMP. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah.
do you need certification in order to be a project manager? Absolutely not. However, if in this day and age, with everything is being virtual, PMP is the one I would recommend. It is the gold standard of certification. It is the
Hmm.
one that's most extensive. You have to upgrade it every 3 years. The exams are very difficult. You need to actually apply for it. There's X amount of hours that you have to have from a project standpoint and an application you have to fill out. So there's a lot of rigor to it, which I think is a very good thing from a certification perspective. Yes, there's other ones out there, but they don't have the same rigor. And what we're finding is globally, PMP is rising to the surface because it was very popular in North America and not so much in Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. But that's all shifting. And you're
Okay.
seeing PMP is the gold standard. So if you are going to get your
Excellent.
project
Okay.
management, go to pmi.org, check out what the requirements are. And they have a whole bunch of different levels and a whole bunch of other different certifications too, because there's program management certification, there's project manager certification, there's like, I think an associate project, so you can even get that one first. So there's
right.
there's a lot that you can do with it, but that's what I would recommend if you're going to get your certification. Here's the key. You're going to run projects if people love how you run projects, because they're going to talk about you. Oh my goodness, Adriana gets things done. She does it well. Love being on her team. You know what's really cool? When you're going to a project and then you start talking to your team, you're like, oh my God, you're the project manager on that? Oh, yes. That's awesome. Why? Because they know accountability. I'm going to deliver and I'm going to give you what you need, and we're all going to do it together. We're going to do it collectively, and no one's going to be left hanging. That's the key to really good project management. It's people.
I couldn't have said it better myself. When the stakeholders on a project are asking for you by name, or when they find out that you're the person and they're ecstatic, that is, I think that is a litmus test for success in a career that you should really kind of gauge yourself against, right? Are people, have you built up, have you delivered to the point where everybody now wants you to be the person who's running their project? You're the first person that they think of, right? That is, I think, is a really good way of thinking about whether, I mean, that's how I consider whether I'm successful in my career or not, right? If I'm constantly getting asked by previous clients to say, hey, do you want to do this project? I'll say, not that one, maybe the next one. Eventually I land on a project that I want to do. Project management seems like it's the exact same type of situation. So I'm really, really glad that you mentioned that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the other question I was going to ask really is around certification. So if in terms of certifications, PMP is the gold standard. The one last thing I wanted to actually drop in there is that I think you can understand really the foresight that the PMI has when you start to see that they start to offer things like the PMI PBA, for example, for project managers who want to extend into business analysis, or for business analysts who are really interested in getting into both project management and business analysis, right?
Absolutely.
So it does not surprise me at all that they're the ones that are really kind of rising to the top when it comes to the certification world. Last question I want to ask is that earlier we talked about training programs and where a person should really kind of try to figure out where to go. You mentioned earlier that you have a training program. Can you help us understand that program a little bit better and where folks can go to find it?
Absolutely. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that actually a lot. So, you know how we said earlier on how there's a lot of theory out there, but what people really need is on-the-job experience. Well, what I did is I took my 20 years plus of project management experience, which took all my PMI experience and my efficiency experience, and I made a practical project management course, which is business focused. So I take the framework of PMI, everything you need, and I jam-packed it into 5 hours online, self-directed, every template you need. And it's 25% theory, 75% practical. And I teach you and talk you through, why do you need to do this at this stage? Here's this form. Here's how you do it. Here's the template in order to get the true scope template information that you need. Let's now fill it out together so you can see how it is. By the way, you need to connect with a sponsor. Here's a email email communication that you could use. Just copy and paste it. Like, I give you everything to be successful. And I also have a Facebook group, private one, for those I call them the slayers, right? For those who've signed up, where they can ask me questions and still get coached. So it really is a resource. It's a project management training course / resource that you can go to over and over with access to me through my private Facebook group. And so it really is conducive to everything that you need to be successful in the real world. Because let's be honest, I love PMI. But again, it's theory, and then there's a practical side to it too. And you don't need to know everything, right? Like to know all of the project management. So I took the minimum that you need to know to be successful that I myself use in all my projects.
I love the thinking behind this, because in the business analysis space, we have the exact same type of trouble in the business analysis space, right? A lot of folks go out there and they try to learn the BA BOK and all the materials. And the way I always look at this is to say that if you're trying to learn a new language, would you try to learn it just by opening up the dictionary and reading from front to end? Probably the least effective way to learn the business analysis landscape, right? have the dictionary there with you, have your, the PMI, the PMBOK or the BA-BOK there with you, but make sure that you understand how to actually do the work. And training programs like yours, I'm actually tempted to sign up myself, to be honest with you.
Please do. We'll talk about it. I'll give you a discount. Actually, you know what? I'm going to give you a coupon code for your viewers to get a discount on it. I'm going to do that. I just thought of that right now. So yes, I'll have to do that. I'm going to write that down. Coupon.
All right. I'll put everything. I'll put all the descriptions and everything else where folks can get that. But look, the types of training programs that exist out there, in my view, there's a lot of marketers out there who learn to talk the talk and they try to teach without having practical experience. And the reason why I love talking to practitioners is the fact that you get really the inside scoop of how to do the work, right? We're not just picking up something out of the PMBOK or picking something out of some other material out there and just kind of regurgitating it. When I do the training programs that we have inside of our community, it's me telling you exactly what you're going to be facing in the real world. And so I'm so happy to see that we have something like that for project management. So all the information is down there. Take a look, everybody, if you're interested in getting those skills. Like I said, I'm tempted, so you might see me in there. Thank you very much for joining us, Adriana, and I'm hoping we can speak again sometime soon, because I got a lot of other questions I'd like to cover.
Imal, I appreciate you inviting me, and absolutely, I welcome that second interview. Absolutely.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.